I think understanding where you want to be in life and in business is probably the most important thing. Everybody loves the dream of being an entrepreneur, the idea of owning something yourself, having that autonomy, being your own boss, and having the freedom that it affords. GrindWise. I'm Erle, and as always, I'm sitting here with my partner, Brent. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different on GrindWise. We're going to answer some questions that you guys have been sending us, but we're going to do it in a different way in that Brent doesn't know what he's going to be asking me, and I don't know what Brent's going to be getting asked by me. So what we did is we had our assistant go through social media, look at all the different questions that people are asking, and we thought it'd be kind of fun today just to hit those up and see what the other person's response is, and we're going to tag team on it and take a look at it. But Brent, here we are. It's GrindWise. We had a crazy windstorm over the last couple days. Of course, you know my yard got trashed. How did you fare out there? Are the ducks still on the pond?
I have not seen the ducks since I shot at the one, right? But I've heard them. And I actually run out to see if I can get a picture. And
you're hearing these ducks laughing because
they're flying right over my backyard pond now.
Right.
But no, the windstorm. You know, I live in an area that I'm surrounded by houses for the most part from that direction. So I didn't have a whole lot of issue with the wind. I was sitting outside. I was actually on the phone with you, and I was sitting in a chair on my back porch, and the chair beside me slammed up against the table and drug the rug up and everything. And I was like, whoa, and dust was flying everywhere. But yeah, driving around on what was that, Wednesday? Driving around looked like just looked like a huge dust storm everywhere. 170,000 some acres in Oklahoma burned. The governor's house burned.
What? See, I didn't even hear that.
His personal farm burnt to the ground. He was actually showed video of him out there walking around. The only thing left standing is his gun safe that was in the basement.
I didn't even hear. I didn't even know there was fires. I heard some crazy wackadoodle was walking on the fire track or the railroad tracks lighting fires. Like there was, I don't know, 10, 15, 20. Why would that's arson. I mean,
yeah, it was like at 5 o'clock in the morning. So it was before the wind didn't pick up to like 10. So luckily they got them all out. And you know, you hear about the California wildfires and how big and fast and the wind never stopped. You know, it was really interesting. When these fires took up, I thought, oh, great, we're going to have fires for the next week around here. And all the fire departments got it all put out. I mean, I guess there probably, there weren't really any real massive ones. I know there were some that destroyed little towns and things like that. So those would be massive, I would say. But up in Kansas had the same deal. I was watching nursing home burnt to the ground, stuff like that. Yeah.
That's horrible. Yeah, that wind was nuts. I was watching the news in Abilene, Texas, semis going down the road, and all of a sudden they just start tipping, and boom, they're over on their side. The wind doing that. It's just nuts. I live where my house sits, you got the 12th hole, the whole fairway runs up and there's trees on both sides. So it creates like this vortex tunnel, unbeknownst to me, but we had 60 mile an hour plus gusts coming through. I think some of them were like 70, 75. It was crazy. I've got these 400 pound wooden planters filled there, and it kind of blocks golf balls that might errantly come into the yard. They were busted over, face forward, falling in my pool. And, I've got a big tiki umbrella over the cooking area, one of those thatch roofs, destroyed.
When you sent me pictures of those planters tipped over, these are not small planters.
No.
I moved those planters when you first moved in the house, like 6 inches, and it was everything I could do. You say 300 or 400 pounds. I'm going to say more like 700-800 pounds. Those things are like 8 foot long and 2 foot deep of dirt. And then all they have is lattice. And so that lattice, rather than breaking, tipped them over. I can't believe.
They were fast and pretty good. But the one, there's three big ones, right? So 2 of them came over face forward. I mean, belly split open, dirt everywhere. Horrible. And then the other one, the lattice just cracked and snapped over. I mean, it was terrible. I spent all day yesterday out there. Well, a good part of yesterday out there with the drill gun and fixing stuff. It tore up all my outdoor lighting, things falling down, and
And
shredding that.
didn't you injure yourself?
It was horrible. Samurai popped out. Didn't like how I was fixing things. Sword, or it was a razor blade cutting cutting some tape. Yeah, I sliced through it. Of course, the wife, she panicked, freaked out. Got to go right away to the doctor. I'm like, where's the super glue? So, guy thing. As soon as they say doctor, no, we're not going to do that. No, it's not necessary. Give me some needle and thread. We'll get it handled right away. But no, it's coming together pretty good. It's definitely healing up. Let's look at things as it relates to starting businesses. And, our entrepreneurial journey started way back. For me, it's 38 years ago, even probably before that. I remember going to garage sales, buying something, and then going to another one, trading up and trying to accomplish a goal, finally getting what I wanted to do. You remember your first entrepreneurial journey? What did you do the first time?
I was mowing yards. I had a snapper riding lawnmower, and I built a little wooden trailer.
A riding lawnmower.
Lucky. And I had a little wooden trailer I hooked on the back and put my weed eater and my mower in it, and I'd drive all over that town that I lived in and mowed yards. And I even went through the bank drive-through and put my money into my savings account. And whenever I got to where I was expanding that, I was getting more and more yards further away. My dad had an old 46 9N Ford tractor, so he gave me his golf cart trailer, and I used that golf cart trailer and that tractor and drove all over town when I was 10, 11 years old, mowing people's yards.
Yeah, I had the lawn mowing thing too, and I washed cars. I remember where I lived over on the coast at the time in Washington, but the way our yard was set up and the way the neighborhood was set up, there's the Bowman's driveway across the way, and it went down, and then it took a 90-degree turn, and then it took another 90 and went straight down into the cul-de-sac. And so everybody in the neighborhood had these red radio flyer wagons. You remember those? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So everybody had one, right? And they all had their can of WD-40 because there's no bearings, but WD-40 that makes them go faster, evidently, right? But they'd have wagon races in the evening. Neighbors would sit out there and jabber-jaw, do what they do. I didn't have a radio flyer wagon, but I knew my birthday was coming up and I was going to get a radio flyer wagon. Well, kept playing the game, hinting, oh gosh, kind of nice to have a wagon, Dad. This thing. Well, my birthday comes, lo and behold, there's this beautiful, glorious, bright red radio flyer wagon. And I'm like, sweet. And Dad says, all right, let's go in the garage. And I'm like, this is where the magic happens. Dad's a mechanical genius. He's probably going to put turbos in it or something to that effect. I'm going to win every race that ever happens here. He's certainly going to give me a can of WD-40. So, man, I scampered off to the garage, and we put that radio flyer wagon together, and I'm waiting for it, and he pulls out a drill, and I'm like, he's definitely installing turbo thrusters. That's got to be what's going on. And he punches a couple holes through the metal in the back, and I'm thinking, maybe he makes it go faster. I don't know. What's he doing? And he runs some twine through it and brings a loop back and ties it to not a snapper riding mower, but an old push mower. The one that you push, and as the wheels turn, it makes the blades spin.
Yeah.
Tied that to the back. Then he took a bucket with some thing of bleach white, a little bottle of Joy soap, a wire bristle brush, and a chamois type wash mitt. He says, there's your business. Go to work. I'm like, but I thought I was going to race it.
That's what just so you know, the trailer that I built, I went to a garage sale and bought a red radio, whatever, flyer wagon, and took the wheels off, put push mower wheels on it. Or actually, they were riding lawnmower wheels. The front wheels, like off of the snappers, on the wagon. Took the metal deal off and built a wooden bed for it that was big enough to hold a push mower and a weed eater.
Oh, really?
Yep.
See, yeah, industrious.
Yep.
I drug that thing all over the neighborhood, washing cars. Back then it was like maybe you get $2 to wash a car, $1, $1.50 or something like that. Mow a lawn, high end, you'd get $5. You're out there for an hour and a half. You're hoping that the owner of the house makes you some lemonade or something cool. But yeah, I did that for years. That was my first business. I think I talked on another episode about the lemonade stand and things like that. But it's funny when you think about it, people that we run into in our everyday life that talk to us or that have businesses, they've all kind of got a similar story, right? And not always lawn mowing, but some people do some pretty creative things. Maybe some people learned art. Some people, their dad's a welder. They love to weld and they make cool things. But it's a universal question for people that watch what people like us do, or that they see people externally do in man, why didn't I start my own business? I wonder how I could start a business. And we thought coming into this episode that we would literally we would tell everybody, okay, from A to Z, this is how you start a business. This is what you really need to look at. But then we started thinking about it, I don't know that anybody wants to sit and watch all of that. Let's hear what other people have to say. And just so you guys know, if you're watching this right now, hey, make sure you go down and hit the like and subscribe button. Smash us, follow for more content, but also hit us up in the direct messages, just like these people have that we're getting ready to look at together. And then ask us what you want us to talk about, because we want to address those things, whether or not we bring in a guest to speak on the topic or something that we've researched ourselves. But we love hearing from you guys. So, Brent, are you ready to dig in and take a look and see what they got us?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's flip it over. Looks like on my count, so these are the questions I'm going to be asking you. All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Fire away.
So this actually looks pretty good. So Stacy says, Brent, why did she ask you?
I don't know.
Number one, that's first. Why did she ask? Brent, I want to start a business, but I have no clue. No is in all capitals. I have no clue what kind. How do I figure out what business is right for me? And this is for Stacy.
That's a great question. You hear that a lot. People are like, I don't know what to do. I'm tired of working the 9 to 5. I want to go out and do my own thing.
Hold on. That's exactly what you say when you haven't figured out your answer yet. That's a good question. I like to ponder that as I'm speaking. I'm just playing with you.
I got the answer.
Okay.
You don't call it work or a job if it's something you love to do. So find something you're passionate about and go after it. Make sure that it's something you're passionate about, that, if you make great money, you're happy every day, because the last thing you want to do is Stacy was the name?
Yes.
Stacy, if she's not going to go doesn't like plumbing, she's not going to go start a plumbing company.
Right.
But if she likes to paint, maybe she starts a painting or like a crafts company or something. So find the thing that you like to do and make a career out of it. That's what I always say.
So that old adage, if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. And so, just like you and I, we love what we do. We love helping businesses. So, it's not, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. Like you and I both talk about it all the time. Mm-hmm. All the years being an entrepreneur, getting up every day was the old, oh, here we go again. What am I going to have to deal with today type of deal. Now I get up every day and go, what can I do today? Who do I get to help today? So I love it. And, it took me 23 years to find that, so I guess the answer to that question is find something you love at the beginning. So you're not doing things that you wake up and you're just like, I don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, where you're going to make the most money is doing something you love, what you're passionate about.
So I guess if Stacey had asked me that, how do I figure out what business is right for me? I 100% agree with you. You got to find something that you enjoy doing. There's a lot of ways to make money out there. If I bought someone a vehicle today and I bought them a trailer today, and I said, I'm going to put you in business. You're going to have plenty of clientele. It's not going to be a problem. I'll even hire the people to go to work for you. And they're like, oh my gosh, it sounds like you're going to do all that for you? Bet I'm going to put you in business. And they said, so what am I doing? I said, well, you're gonna actually be picking up excrement from pets on lawns, and you get to do it every day. It's probably not necessarily something somebody would love to do, but you can build a whole business around that. I would say finding something that you love to do, but also figuring out, is there a way to solve a problem? Can you do it better than the person that's next to you? And certainly, how do you monetize what you love to do? Now, if you love to eat, maybe end up being a food vlogger or something like that. Or there's so many different things, but I think from a baseline strategy, for sure, looking at finding something that you actually enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it.
Right. I agree with that 100%.
All right. So lay it on me.
All right. So this one's from Dave in Kansas City. Go Chiefs. All right. So he says, I've got $1 million idea, but I'm broke. How do I get started with no money?
Who asked that?
Dave. He's out of Kansas City.
Okay. So Dave, just get a hold of me. I'll give you the money. That's all we got to do. I'm just kidding. So I have 5 boys, right? I hear that, Dad, I got this great idea. Dad, I got this great idea. This is going to be the thing that it's going to be $1 million idea. Everybody thinks that their idea is $1 million idea. And some of them are, right? like most inventors, most creators, most people that you run across in the world, they have these great ideas, but they don't know how to get it out there because they cost money. A lot of times it costs money to start $1 million idea, right? You're not just taking empty jars going down through the air like this and capping it off really quick, going, here's some freedom air from Texas or whatever the case may be. Of course, people would probably buy that. Just FYI, that's an idea, trademarked and patented by Erle. I'm just kidding. So, David, look, if you've got $1 million idea and you don't know how do you frame it, how do I start a business, but I don't have any money?
Yep. He said, I'm broke.
Oh, I'm broke. Okay. Well, yeah. David, I hear you. Okay, I've been there. We've all been there at some point in our life. If you got $1 million idea, first off, get a non-disclosure agreement. Just get a simple form, a non-disclosure agreement, and then go to people that you know, you like, you trust, that maybe are a little more affluent than you are, which if you're broke, there might be a whole bunch of those people, David. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying I've been there. But take that, say, hey, will you sign this? I want to share something with you, but will you sign this? And then share it with them, right? And see where they're at, and get a sampling of a lot of people, David, and make sure that other people think that your $1 million idea is also a $1 million idea, because what we think as entrepreneurs, because our minds constantly run, we think everything's going to be a great idea. And as you and I both know, there's a lot of things that aren't great ideas, right? They're not $1 million idea. It seems like that for us, but I would say validating first off whether or not your $1 million idea is a real $1 million idea. And if you're afraid to share it with people that might have the money to help you or support you in this, bring them in as partners, ask them to sign an NDA and say, I'm going to share this with you. That would be my answer.
Yeah, I would say, it kind of goes back to the last question, do the market research and figure out if it does solve a problem. If it does solve a problem, then it potentially is $1 million idea. Now, when I think that, like you said, get the NDA, I love that, and share it with people. Most people know somebody that knows somebody, or they have a family member or a family friend that has some money that would love to see them succeed. And if that idea is a great idea, the NDA, even though their family still haven't signed the NDA, because last thing you want is them stealing your idea.
Oh boy, yeah.
And, or sharing it with somebody else that steals it. So, yeah, I love that. That's a great answer. That's what I would recommend as well.
My dad used to always say, I'd say, Dad, here's a good idea. And he said, you're going to do great wonders with rotten cucumbers, aren't you? And, he was supportive. I guess is the point. But when you're younger, you have a million different ideas, and sometimes you think you have a great idea, and you don't realize that it's been thought of 10,000 other times, and other people have tried to get that idea out there. But then again, we also live in a day and age where a lot of ideas are spurred off of the advances within technology. We talk about AI a lot here, and if you've really got something that you generally think solves a problem that you can monetize, definitely go out there and do some market analysis on it.
So when I was probably 10 years old, my dad had just started his the waterline construction company that I helped him blow up and make it a $50 million company. But I was working weekends and learned how to run a backhoe and all that stuff at a young age. And the one thing I hated doing was putting pipe together, shoving that pipe together, PVC pipe, miles and miles and miles of it. 10 years old out there shoving pipe together. And so I had this whole design. I was going to take a school bus, take the bus off, and I was going to build a machine that would put pipe together. And I had it all drawn out, had all the pneumatics. I mean, I have no idea how I knew all this stuff when I was that young. I did a school project.
You did the schematics as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did some science projects in middle school of pneumatics and stuff like that. So I learned a lot about whatever.
Pneumatics?
Hydraulic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hydraulic. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm lost. Me, vernacular. I'm like, pneumatics. We're talking about air now?
No.
Okay.
So anyway, I did this whole design, right? And we went and talked to a patent lawyer, and we were going to have somebody build it. And it costs a lot of money to have a patent lawyer. Yeah. So then I go and I'm like, maybe this isn't a reality. Didn't have the money to put it all together. And probably about 7-8 years later, somebody actually made one. And I don't know if they ever reproduced them, but there was probably a handful of them in the country at that time. And I actually got to see one. And I was like, that was my design.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But anyway, so do the research, find out if it's something. And then I do recommend, if it's something that's patentable, which is if it can't be done on paper, it's patentable. Go talk to a patent attorney. They're free for the first time. And if somebody else comes up with the idea after the fact, you can actually go and show that you talked to the attorney first.
Or provisional patents, at least if you have that process started. You know, who was that? David, is that what he said? That's a good question because it's really broad scope. We get asked all the time, what do you think about this? Or do you want to invest in that? And I got to tell you, it's just a little bit of a self-effacing story, but back in the early 80s, you know, I ran some commercial fishing boats up in Alaska, long lining and crabbing. And I had this buddy. He'd go up to Alaska with me. His name was Brian. And it was coming up to halibut season. We were back down south in between seasons. And he says, hey, you know what? You know what we really need to do? And I said, what? He goes, I got $1 million idea. I said, you do? Oh, do tell. And you remember those old photo huts that were on the corner of the road? You could drop your 35 millimeter film off. I'm dating myself. But they would have it developed in an hour and you could pick up your prints.
It wasn't an hour back then. It was like 3 days or something, wasn't it?
Well, they had 1 hour photo. I don't know. But they were little photo hut things on corners of roads. Anyway, so Brian says, he goes, I got this $1 million idea. And I'm like, do tell. You know, he says, what we need to do, because all those photo huts are going away. They're shutting down. They got these empty buildings. We need to go and start an espresso company. I said, what the hell's espresso? And he says, it's Italian coffee. I'm like, and? He goes, well, what we'll do is we'll make this Italian coffee, right? And then people, when they're driving into work, they're going to pull up to this photo hut just like they're dropping off film, but they're going to buy that Italian coffee from us instead of making it at home. I said, this is your $1 million idea. He goes, yeah. So we're going to sell 10-cent cups of coffee and we're going to get rich. He goes, no, we're going to sell them for like $3 and $4 a drink.
And guess what? That is $100 million idea now.
Well, here's what I said. I said, you must be out of your mind. We're not going to get rich selling coffee. What we need to do is get our butts back up there. Halibut season's coming. You know, we always do good on that. Now, hindsight being what it is, and I'm sharing this because don't let somebody ever steal your dreams either in the process. Don't let somebody tell you that's not $1 million idea. Maybe they're short-sighted, but in that scenario, I knew where I could make money. I already had the boat. I had the equipment. I was like, okay, let's go and do this. And I'm like, coffee. I didn't even really drink coffee back then. Italian coffee, my gosh, that's way too bougie for me. Interesting footnote to it. 10 years later, I own 5 drive-through coffee stands and a sit-down bistro. I actually ended up being one of the largest private buyers of coffee in the area that I lived in, and did really, really well. And it was $1 million idea. So, but it took me 10 years to get there from that point. So where could I have been? Right.
Right.
All right, so it's your turn.
All right.
We're running here. Dave, good question. Appreciate that. All right, so we have Mike out of New York. He says, be honest. Do I really need a business plan or can I just wing it?
That's a great question. So I'm going to be honest too. I've never created a business plan until the past 4 or 5 years. Right. I didn't even really, school of hard knocks, right? So didn't ever even, I got into business and just got in and started working and showing the bank I was making money. And then I had some employees that were trying to buy one of my businesses and they created this big business plan and had this whole thing showing the bank how it's going to work. And I was like, that's pretty smart. Now they didn't get approved because of their financial situation, but I think it's smart to have a business plan because number one, getting into the business and setting it up the way you want to set it up, and then having a way to track your metrics, so that way if in 6 months you're not doing X, you can go and correct it and make it right. So having a business plan, gotta have it, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with your school of thought on that, especially given the fact that for years and years didn't really have a business plan. I had some form of an articulation of what I was going to do, or the old cocktail napkin, written out. And if we did this and we did that and we sold it for this, we'd yield that and we could retain and blah, blah, blah. So I think a lot of great business plans are done on cocktail napkins. But what's really interesting now with AI and things like that, you can definitely create them. It already knows the questions that you should be answering, and then it formulates the whole thing together. We could talk about that another time, but there's having a business plan is actually a great way to get your mind straight as far as setting goals and where you're trying to go within your business. And it increases the likelihood of you being successful if you're following that chronology. We school of hard knocks, and we learn some hard lessons, I think, throughout our life. We've talked about that amongst each other quite a bit. Maybe someday we'll talk about some of those hard life lessons here on GrindWise. But yeah, I'm right in line with you on that.
Yep.
Hey, do you mind if I cut in and ask you another one?
Go for it.
Because this is stacking up here. There's some good ones. So Benjamin, doesn't say where Benjamin's from, but Benjamin, thank you for writing in. Appreciate you. I hear people talk about LLCs and corporations, but do I even need to register my business if I'm just starting? Like, I guess he's saying, hey, I'm just getting started. I got a snapper lawnmower. Do I need to register this business? What do I need? Is this necessary? Can I just start business?
Yeah, I would recommend that you start the business before you start the business, because you want to be, there's 3 reasons you incorporate. Right. And I use this in my presentations all the time. It's to separate yourself from your business. So you try not to carry any personal liability in the business. If the business gets in trouble, you have the tax benefits by being a business. And the third one is to look legit in the eyes of the world. If you're just out there, Erle Adams, just doing business, mowing people's yards, it doesn't look as good as maybe Earl's Lawn Care or something along those lines. So people want to hire people that are legitimate, have insurance.
I'm 10 years old, Brent. My gosh.
I didn't have an LLC when I was 10 years old. But
back in the 1940s, we didn't need that. I'm cutting you off at the pass on that because I know what you're going to do. Oh, well, back when you guys didn't have cars.
Back when you had to use horses and goats and stuff to keep the grass down.
So Ben's like, I hear about people talking starting LLCs and corporations, but a lot of times it's about getting your foot in the water. You definitely want to do it right. You want to be legitimate, and sometimes just states have different licensing that you have to get depending on where you live. Whether maybe you just need a federal setup to being recognized there as a business, and sometimes it has to be on a state level. Sometimes even in a county level, you have to be recognized. Especially if you're collecting money and charging sales tax. My gosh, yeah, you better be registered. But I think just getting your foot dipped in that water, you realize it's maybe not quite as cold. You ever jump in a pool and you're like, man, I know it's going to be cold, but after a minute or so, it's not so bad. But I would say, especially in this day and age, I'd have to agree with you. It's you do it.
A way to do this, just going off what you just said, a way to do this is to name the business something that can be used as like a holding company of sorts, and then have a DBA under it. And then that way you've created it. And if the first one doesn't work, you still got the opportunity to go and create a second, third, and you have the EIN that's aged.
Right. Yeah. You drop the DBA, you have the legacy bank account, you're aging that LLC. And people think that incorporation is this massive, dramatic expense. It's not. I mean, especially nowadays, it's not as bad as it used to be. It's just a matter of doing it right. Yep. I like that idea, doing the DBAs. I've certainly had a lot of DBAs throughout my career. And then, of course, the question was, do I go C Corp? Do I go LLC? Do I do a partnership?
Right.
Yeah, but we don't have to do that right now. That's just for you, Benjamin. So,
all right.
Why don't you hit me?
Looks like Michelle out of Portland, Oregon. All right. So this is a good question. I want to quit my 9-to-5 and be my own boss, but I'm scared. How do I even know if it's the right time to take the leap?
Okay, back to my boys. I got one boy in particular. He's like, Dad, I just want to be a business owner. I think I'm more cut out to be a business owner. I'm like, what, Panera Bread's not working out? And I'm kidding. That was way back. He doesn't work there anymore, but he does good. But he's also watched me throughout my career, always owning my own business, right? And I would say, tell me her name one more time.
It was Michelle.
And she's in Portland?
Yep.
Michelle, I would say this, and I would say this to you with absolute all honesty. It's hard. It really is hard. People think, and we hear it all the time, people think that, I'll just go start a business. I'm going to make money hand over fist, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. And I'm going to quit my 9-to-5. I'm going to go start a business. Well, business just doesn't happen. It doesn't just happen. You don't go, hey, tomorrow I'm starting a business. Now, maybe for somebody like you and I, that's all we've ever known. We can do that. But we also understand that when you start a business, and this is for you, Michelle, there's a big period of time where you're probably not going to bring in any money. You're probably going to be reinvesting. You're probably going to be spending money. So if you're thinking about quitting your 9 to 5, make sure you've got a really, really clear understanding of what it's going to cost for you to start your business, and then take and either double it or add 50% to it, because it's always going to cost more than what you think. And then make sure from, not just from that standpoint, that you have enough money, enough runway to make it a certain period of time before you run to the dish. Because what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm not saying that's going to happen with you, but I've seen it happen a lot of times. And I love the entrepreneurial spirit, right? I absolutely love it. I lived my whole life the way. But the same thing I tell my own kids who look at dad and go, well, you've always been the boss. And yeah, but it's not always easy. It's not always easy. And 9 to 5, when you get off work, you're off work.
Yep.
When you and I get off work, what's that? We're never off work. We do this on Sundays, right? We have our Saturdays are busy. Our phone never stops ringing. Once you own a business, you're also, as a general rule, given license to people to draw off of your business talents through perpetuity if you want to be successful in business. Now, most people hit a point where they're able to create offsets by hiring people and things like that. But if your whole question is, should I just go ahead and dump my 9 to 5 and go to work and start a business? I would say definitely have a real consistent plan, and also have a fallback. Always have a plan B. If you hit this point, this threshold in that pursuit of starting your business, that you have a fallback that you can go to. That's what I would say. And by all means, if that's your dream, go for it. You only live once. We're not getting any younger, but have a plan so it doesn't harm you.
Yeah, I think this goes back to some of the other questions we've had. If it's a good idea, find out if it's a niche market, do your market research. If it is something that will really take off and scale, you got to have the runway, like you said. But at the same time, I think, a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people every single day that have their 9 to 5 still, and then they do their other job, their side hustle, essentially,
right,
on the evenings and weekends. Now,
that's a good point. Yeah,
you can start out small, and if it takes off, where you can replace that 9 to 5 income, if you don't have the runway, that's one way to get there. So I'm in agreement with you. I don't think there's any. I would leap versus not leap, but make sure I had the plan to leap.
This is a great test your water type scenario. I love that you just said that whole adage of side hustle and things like that. If it's certainly, Michelle, if it's a business that you can start and you can start monetizing right now, but do it on a fractional level so you can actually gauge, look at KPIs, key performance indicators on how you're marketing, and really get a lot clearer idea of how you're going to progress with it. Your own business is going to tell you when it's time to leave your 9 to 5.
Absolutely. You're 100% right with that, So, all right, well, I'm going to move on to another one. I got another one for you.
Oh, it's my turn again?
Nope. Yep. I'm asking another question.
Fine. Let's go.
All right. This is Letitia, and it says she's out of Dallas. All right. So
Letitia. Okay.
All right.
Hi, Letitia.
All right. I started a business, but nobody seems to care. How do I actually get customers?
Did she tell us what business it is?
Nope.
She didn't say anything.
Nope.
She just, I started a business. No one cares.
Nobody cares. I want to start this off real quick.
Okay.
When business owners, thousands of friends on social media, people don't care.
No, they don't care.
They don't care. So now back to you.
Well, you go and you start a business, and what's the first thing you do? You go to your social media and you're like, hey, like and subscribe to my page, and it might be Letitia's plumbing service. I don't know what Letitia does. Maybe, who knows, right? She didn't tell us, obviously, but I think the underlying tone is she started a business, she took the leap, and nobody cares. So how do you make somebody care? I would say right off the bat, Letitia, and I'm going to go under the assumption that you did your market research and you think it's something they should care about, that you've solved a problem. So if nobody seems to care, what I would, if I was Letitia, it doesn't matter what business it is, I'd go hit up Google. I'd put in my business and I'd say, what are the top questions that people are asking about this business? And what happens is Google is going to bring up, and it's going to show you like 4 or 5 questions, and it has this little chevron that you can click underneath it, and it'll bring up the answer. Now, these are millions of people asking Google this question about whatever your type of business is. I don't know what niche you're in, but what it does is it tells you what people actually care about as it relates to that niche that you're in. Now you can look at the answers and then you can develop your own answers as it relates to whatever you're doing, Letitia. And then when you close that chevron, what happens is a couple other questions will populate. Now you've got 6 or 7 and you open another chevron and close it. And now all of a sudden you end up with pages, maybe the top 100 questions that someone's asking you, Letitia, about what it is that you do. So if the question really is, I started a business, but nobody seems to care, you need to go in and research what people care about, because maybe what you identified in the beginning isn't actually what people care about, but Google's going to tell you. And then you can, I would take and look at how I'm approaching that. Now, Letitia, you can create videos on TikTok, on YouTube, and you can talk about the things that people care about and become that expert as it relates to it, that go-to resource, because if what you're doing is something that's within there. Now, if you started a business for snorkeling and basket weaving at the same time, you might have an audience issue. I don't know. Maybe that's not going to catch on, but I wish she had told us what she did, but that's probably the most generalized answer I can give. What would you say, Brent?
I would say be ready to pivot. So like I said, we don't know what you do and tell us what you do. If you're a nail salon and you're using the wrong colors, I mean, be ready to pivot. Find out the pain point that is driving people.
Why's Letitia got to have a nail salon?
Well, I don't know. Maybe she has a electrician company, whatever it is.
I see.
Figure out and be able to pivot. If you find the customer's pain point, that's when you're going to start bringing customers in, and that's when people are going to start caring. If you go to social media, like you said, find out what those pain points are and post videos or comments about, have you ever had this as a pain point in your business? Or if it's a consumer side, then have you ever had this pain point in your consumer side? Get people interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, and you said a word just a little bit ago that I think all business owners, any entrepreneur has to be willing to embrace. And it's a kind of a self-reflection word, but be ready to pivot.
Yep.
So Letitia might have some infrastructure that could be relatable over into another industry that's similar, but not exactly the same.
Yep.
Right. And maybe you have to pivot off of what you're doing. If people aren't voting with their wallets, and that's really how you know at the end of the day what put money in the bank, that's how you can tell whether or not your business is something that people care about. If nobody seems to care and they're not voting with their wallet, just take a look at what you're doing, do that investigation, and then also be ready to pivot. Because sometimes you can't lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink,
right.
Or you can't beat a dead horse because he didn't drink enough water.
Don't start.
I don't know.
Don't start quoting Tommy Boy now.
You can look in butchers and well, thank you. All right, is it my turn or is it your turn?
Your turn.
All right. So, hey, hopefully that was helpful. We're definitely not having fun at your expense. You didn't tell us what you do, but we hopefully that helps. All right. So we're heading back over to the Midwest, I guess it would be. Eric up in Iowa says, I launched my business, but I'm drowning in taxes, legal stuff, and paperwork. Help. In all capital letters with an exclamation point. How do I keep this from becoming a nightmare? So she launched a business. Erica, you're drowning in taxes, legal stuff, and paperwork. Help. She's saying help her. How do I keep this from becoming a nightmare?
We say this all the time. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Find a trusted CPA, number one, a trusted attorney. Find people that can help you with those things rather than, I love the question. I'm glad she asked the question. Mm-hmm. I talk to business owners every day. They think they can just figure these things out. But if you don't have things set up the right way when you're doing things, you're going to run into these problems.
She knows that. She's there.
I had a guy the other day that he set up a company, use a free online LLC setup deal, mm-hmm. and those people free. So what happens afterwards? They get bombarded because their information is sold to all these different companies. And he had some lady call him and say, you need to start paying quarterly estimates. You got to pay me $3,000 to get this all set up for you. And I was like, are you making money? And he goes, no. So why are you setting up this money? You should.
Oh, the estimated?
Yeah.
They're asking for estimated?
They're already asking for estimated, and he hasn't even started the business.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I was like, go find a local CPA, sit in front of the person, make sure you can trust them, make sure you like them, make sure they understand what you're doing. You have to hire people to help you with things you don't know. Because what was her name?
Erica.
Erica.
Yep.
So Erica, whatever it is you're doing in business, you're good at. But clearly you need help with taxes and legal. find people that are good at that and utilize those people to help you.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Tanya, our assistant. Tanya, you did a good job putting these questions together. Actually, you just kind of, and it looks like it's my turn again.
Yep.
The dead spots are where you're going to ask me something. That's why I can't see them, but I see that I got there. Yeah. So shout out to Tanya. Thanks for putting these things together. Hey, and by the way, shout out to Blue Couch Studio. They help us with this podcast so that we can bring this content to you. If it wasn't for Brandon and his team there, we certainly couldn't do this on a weekly basis and create this content. We will make sure that in the description you have ability to reach out to Brandon yourself if you are interested in doing something similar for your own business. But let's move along here. Steve out of Florida. Where in Florida are you, Steve? Dylan? I don't understand that one. Well, Steve's out of Florida, nonetheless. Oh, this is a good one for you, Brent.
All right.
Social media is overwhelming. He's saying, do I need to be on every single platform, or can I just focus on one?
So that's a very good question. As I'm promoting all of our stuff or getting all of our stuff we're on every social platform. There's other ones out there that there's some I've never even heard of. Right. Mm-hmm. But, I would say it depends on your market. Who is your market? If it's consumer, I would say every platform. If it's businesses, maybe LinkedIn, Facebook. Facebook's kind of iffy. Alignable, maybe. Yeah. Alignable's kind of, I steer away from that one. But, going into business, the bigger your online presence, the more likely you are to attract customers. So if somebody finds you on Facebook, but they're always on TikTok, and they're on TikTok and they don't see you or see any kind of post or any kind of anything on TikTok, then they're probably, I don't know, this person may not be so fully legit. So my thought is be on every platform, because you don't know where your customer is unless you actually can identify that, we're both different. I mean,
right.
I didn't have TikTok until a year ago. I mean, that's how old I feel like I'm late to the game. You know what I mean? So it depends on your demographic of who you're trying to bring in as customers. If your customers are high end companies, you probably don't need to do social media other than maybe LinkedIn. Now, if you're talking to small business owners all the time, every platform, because most business owners are trying to grow their business, are on all those platforms.
Right, like retail sales, or you got a product, something tangible that you're dealing with. I would say to Steve, he said social media is overwhelming. I agree. I mean, that's why you do that side for us. You're always in there. I'm in there, but not like you are. Overwhelming is an absolutely perfect word for it. And the good news is there's actually products, Steve, that you can buy that you can take and put all the social media that you're working with in there and create a schedule, and it'll actually do the posting for you. So if you're overwhelmed just by social media in general, you can repurpose a lot of the exact same posts, but get it into all the other social media platforms that you're working within. That would for sure be there. He said he's overwhelmed. Being on every single platform, I'm with Brent, be on the ones that are relevant to what you're doing. But I would definitely look at one of these, and I don't know, we could put one in the description. We didn't know what the questions were, so we would have came to the table with answer. I don't even know exactly what we're using on that.
Well, so it just depends if he wants to do, if he didn't want to go out and record a bunch of video, right? Then he could use InVideo, which is InVideo, makes faceless. You just type in what you want to do and it creates you a video. Sometimes it takes forever to generate. And then if he wants to create his own content, Opus Clip's great. You can actually use Opus Clip to optimize so that it makes it trending. So you could actually get both, have the video. And then when you're in Opus Clip, you can literally take a 2-minute video and post it, click it one time and post it on every single social platform you connect.
Perfect. So that'd just be one medium. So if you're overwhelmed by social media, Steve, I get it. I feel for you. Boom. There you go.
Yep.
That's what I would explore. And you can literally Google that. If we'd known the questions, maybe I like this format. This is kind of fun.
Yeah. All right. I got another one for you.
All right.
This is Aiden out of Phoenix. All right. I want to sell a product online, but the competition is insane. How do I stand out from the crowd? He didn't tell us what product either.
Okay.
We need to get people to give us more detail.
Well, I kind of feel like there probably was more detail, but I think when I asked Tanya to put together the questions, she just put the questions there. So, because we get some long messages from people, but he's selling something online. He wants to stand out from the other crowd. I mean, do you remember those old days when, like, car sales, you come on down to Larry's Crazy Car Barn. He stood out, right? And I'm not saying do that, but things in this world are about standing out. It's about making that impression, being different from everybody else. So the first word would be different. Don't do what everybody else does. Don't send the same mundane emails. Send real useful, relevant content. If you're doing things on social media, do something that's unexpected. It's so far off the cuff that it doesn't even relate to what you're doing, and then transfer things back, and that will help you stand out from what your competitors are doing. Be aware of what your competitors are doing. But if you're selling things online, you have to stand out. You have to be willing to be different. They call it getting outside your zone, getting outside your box. But if I'm going to market something online, I'm going to look at how my competitors are going to do it, and I'm going to do it completely different. No matter how much success they have, I might tail on to what I think is successful, but I'm going to do something unexpected and different as it relates to that product.
Yeah, I would go into I'd go into another direction as well with that. I love what you said, but find out who your competitors are. And there's actually, and I can't even think of it right now off the top of my head. I actually just figured this out last week. But there's things out there you can look at SEO.
Oh, right. Yeah,
website optimization. And so you can look at your competitors and see what keywords they're using. And then on your website, you can use similar keywords and try to draw people that are searching for them, search for you. So that's a good thing. Now,
that's really cool.
The only other thing I would say outside of what you said is we keep going back to it. Do your market research. Find out what the problem is. Figure out how you can position your products to solve people's problems.
So he said he wants to sell something online, but the competition's insane. I think the first thing I'd ask, what was his name?
Aiden.
The first thing I'd say is, Aiden, why do you want to sell something that's super competitive, especially if you're selling it online? A lot of people have time and tenure associated with what they're doing. They have a name recognition. It's hard to start McDonald's today, right?
Right.
I think if you were sitting here with me, I'd say, well, why do you want to sell what you want to sell if you're already aware that there's so much competition? Usually when you go into a marketplace, you're going, I want to sell something that's new, that's exciting, that's invigorating. I've got the phone with 48 megapixels. You've got the phone with 30 megapixels. Mine's better. That's why I want to sell that. So what is your product or service, and how do you differentiate that from the rest of the crowd? But he's already saying that it's super competitive. I think the first conversation I'd have with him is, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to start a McDonald's?
Right.
You know,
you gotta be unique. You gotta be unique, 100%. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next one.
Well, it's my turn again.
Yep, you gotta go again.
Jeez.
So, this is Tony, and he is out of Memphis, Tennessee. All right. How do I know if my business idea is actually good or if I'm just fooling myself?
Well, it's kind of similar to what's going on with Aiden. I mean, Tony, look, how do you know if your idea is good or if you're just fooling yourself? It starts with market research. And you know what? There's so much value in getting out and having conversations with the people that would be your consumers. Yeah, it's legwork. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? To go sit in a mall and do market analysis, just stop people and go, hey, if there was such and such, would you buy it? You know, we do a lot of market research in our own companies when we get ready to launch a product, and we have a product that we might be engaging with, and we start talking to the people that we're talking to all the time, going, you know, we're thinking about bringing this in-house. What would your thoughts be on it? Would this be something you'd use? But at the end of the day, people still have to make that final vote with their wallet, right?
Yep.
So a lot of people will placate you. They'll say, oh, it's a great idea, and it's not. They aren't willing to pull their wallet out, no matter how great an idea they tell you that it is. But I would say knowing whether or not it's a good idea, your market research, does it solve a problem? Yeah, number one, is it more affordable? How are you going to differentiate yourselves from the others? That's the first thing you got to look at. What makes you special?
Yeah,
when it comes to that,
I would say go ask your friends and family if it's consumer. Yeah. Go ask business owners, if it's B2B. Mm-hmm. Find out if it's something, like you said, that somebody actually would buy.
Right.
If they're not going to buy it, I would say it's a bad idea. Sorry, Tony, but if you go ask your friends and family and other businesses or whatever your direction is, if it's something that you get 10 out of 10 say no, I'd probably look at something else.
Right. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of hot dog cart vendors out there, right? They sell hot dogs. They throw them in a bun. You get to put different things on it. One guy's chili is better than the other guy's chili. And then somebody one day goes, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put hot dogs in a banana leaf. I'm going to pre-slice them and serve them with chopsticks.
Yep.
Sounds like a good idea, and somebody might go, that's a genius idea. There's nothing I like better than a banana leaf wrapped hot dog. But do they?
Got to be unique.
You got to be unique, but you got to be unique in a way that makes sense. So my turn. Where are we at? So there was that blank spot. Looks like you are going, oh, hey, here we go. So Victor down in Tyler, Texas, I'm sorry, I'm off mic. Victor says from Tyler, Texas, what's the biggest mistake new business owners make that sends them straight to failure? What's the biggest mistake they can make?
Well, Victor, I would say it's not coming up with a plan and not going into that plan with the right capital behind you. Just like we've talked several times about making sure you have runway, making sure that you have either capital or an investor or, and have that plan to make sure that you know what markers you need to be hitting. That's what the biggest failure is that business owners, people start a business in the first year, they take that 9-to-5 leap and it doesn't work because they didn't do their market research. They didn't have the runway. They have to go back to their 9-to-5 and shut their business down. So that's what I would say on that.
Yeah, and a lot of time runway relates to, because it's not just about your money you're spending on the business, but you have to keep yourself paid too, or you have to have enough of your debts caught up that you don't need the money. But most businesses come in underfunded. I mean, they think that this is what it's going to take to get there. They may have it all written out perfectly on the cocktail napkin, but always factor times 2 or times 1.5 if you're looking at a business. That's what I would say to Victor for sure. I agree with you 100%. Yep. Runway.
All right, I'm gonna move us on.
All right.
So this is Gloria, and it doesn't tell me where Gloria is out
That's
of.
my mom's name.
Oh well,
Mom, are you asking questions?
She didn't say where she was from. So.
Okay.
All right. So I've got an idea, but my friends and family don't believe in me. That sounds like your mom. You don't believe in your mom?
Stop it. My mom believes in me.
She says her friends and family don't believe in her. Should I listen to them or prove them wrong?
Well, I have a kind of a rule as it relates to business. I try not to take advice from people that aren't already doing better than me in business. So the first thing I would say is my friends and family doing better than me in business, and what have they accomplished? Is that validation from them valuable to me as well? Because sometimes, look, you ever seen crabs in a barrel? Again, commercial fishing. We'd catch crabs and we'd put them into this massive big white tote before we dumped them there, because we had to size them before we could put them into the holding tank. And crabs will try to escape, right? They're like, I see freedom. I see the scupper. I'm going to get back into the ocean. And other crabs will literally grab their legs as they're just about to escape and pull them back in. People are like that too. And they're dream stealers. I mean, they're big time on dream stealers. So I've tried to make a point of only soliciting advice from the people that I know who have already done better than me in business, that I really know, value, and trust. You can love your family, you can love your friends, but if they haven't already done or accomplished something similar to what you're trying to do from an entrepreneurial standpoint, or have an understanding of it, or been highly successful in what they're doing, I don't know that I'd solicit that advice. I would go and talk to the people that mirror exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if they have already accomplished things and they are coming from a standpoint of, I've been there, I've done that, and I have a leg to stand on when I make these statements, then maybe take a review of what you're trying to propose to them and carefully consider. You have to have humility in business as well. You have to be willing to accept the critiques that come that way, especially when you're a business owner. Everybody thinks, well, once you're the business owner, you have no problems, no headaches, no hassles. But you got so much more. So I would separate that out first, right off the bat.
Yeah. I can't quote it verbatim because I just saw it this morning, but Trump had said, surround yourself in business with people doing better than you.
Amen. Yeah.
So that hits the nail right there on the head. So, all right.
It's my turn.
Yep.
My turn. All right. Where are we? Oh, let's see. Oh, okay. Layla. Good question. Layla's out of Boise, Idaho. Layla says, everyone says networking is the key. That's the key. I hate networking. Can I succeed without it?
So it just depends on what your business is. I didn't network until we started doing the corporate credit. Mm-hmm. Every business I had, I mean, right now when I go network, I see roofers and plumbers and HVAC. I mean, all the different people networking because they're trying to get their name out there. I hated networking when I first started doing it. That's not what 6 a.m. and going to a B&I meeting. That's not what I want to do on a Thursday. And then they have rules, but you got to be at them all. I would say, depending on what your what your niche market is or where your clients come from, networking can be a very powerful tool. Find networking events that you enjoy to go to. You'll create friends, you'll create customers. I don't go to networking events anymore. I did that for like 2 years.
Right.
Now people know me. And so it's a good place to start because you're face to face with people without having to go to their office and try to get past. Well,
she hates it.
I didn't like it either, but I did. It's just like you and I.
Yeah.
That first year that I started doing this, I traveled the entire country. I was on the road 42 out of 52 of the weeks that first year, and I don't do that anymore.
No,
it's like once a quarter we go somewhere now. So, I mean, at the end of the day, swallow your pride, go in, do the networking, do that for a year and get the customer base that you need, and then pull back on the networking.
So most people that have that fear of networking where you're going out there, it's sort of they might be extroverts in a lot of areas of their life. They might be really good about talking about their business, but they're introverts as it relates to going out and meeting new people. The best thing that I could say to Layla would be, who cares?
Yep.
You may never see them again. It's kind of like getting up and singing karaoke at a bar you've never been to. Who cares what anybody thinks? Go to the networking meeting. You can't be successful in business, frankly. You can never sell something if you aren't willing to put one foot in front of the other and then open up your mouth. But at the end of the day, who cares?
Yep.
If they don't like you, if you go there and you come running in on all fours, I guarantee everybody's going to look at you and want to talk to you. Why'd you run in here on all fours? Because I got to talk to you. I was excited to get here. Whatever the case may be, go there. And it doesn't matter if they talk to you. It's great, but you got to do something that makes them want to talk to you. Maybe you wear all diamonds all over your clothes. But I hear you.
All right,
I hear you.
All right, you're up.
Fine.
No, I mean you got to answer.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you got to answer. It's my turn. My turn to ask the question.
Okay.
All right. So this is from Everett. And Everett looks like he's out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Mm-hmm. All right. I hear these stories about people making 6 figures in 6 months. Is that real or is that just social media hype? Now, I want to say maybe these people are playing the online slots casinos. We're looking for a sponsor.
No, hey, look, there are people that do it. You might have heard of somebody, Bill Gates. He did pretty well. I don't know if it was 6 figures in 6 months, but no, look, he's probably talking about the advertisements. There's so many things that are out there advertised. Hey, for only $14, you too could make 6 figures in 7 months or 6 months. And what do they say? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I would always be super hyper skeptical about that. Do massive homework, and really, the second you figure out who they be, you immediately go back and search that company. Search it outside the advertisement. So if this one is Magic Labs, you're gonna make 6 figures, and they've got all these faux things. Which, by the way, you aren't supposed to put faux reviews up anymore. They've changed that law. It happened in 2024. You can get in big trouble, but some of these people still do it. They'll do these AI generated things, but 6 figures in 6 months, what does that equate to? That's a lot of money. 6 months. That's what, $20,000, $18,000 a month revenue to break over that $100,000 mark. So the second you can, as you're going through it, what was his name? Everett. The second you figure out who it is, go in and start looking at reviews. Hit Reddit, hit everything, go. That company's name plus scam, that plus company's name plus fraud, that company's name plus reviews, and really dig in. And you're going to actually find out what other people have seen, because if they're getting you to pause Everett and you're seeing 6 figures in 6 months, it probably got other people to pause, probably to the extent that they spent whatever dollar amount that they want there. Is it possible? Sure. Everything's possible.
I would say exactly what you just said, but I would also add in, think about do that market research piece, find out, what the fee is. Obviously, you can't just start something without paying something. These people offering these free online courses, what they're going to end up doing is upsell you $10, $20, $30, $100,000 store or whatever online. And then those other classes, it doesn't do you any good to take these $29 a month classes if you don't implement it.
Well, they're never selling you a $29 a month class anyway. They all want you to upgrade. They all want you. This is how they hook you in. And by the way, you got 48 seconds to make a decision whether or not you're going to spend $10,000 and really change your life. There's a lot of stuff, and I don't know if that's what he's saying, but based on that question that you just asked, that's kind of what I think. Hey, look, we're winding down. I got one here from Roger, and Roger is in Denver, Colorado. He says, if you had to start I like this. If you had to start a business from scratch today, Brent, with only $500, what would you do?
Man, that's a good question. Because with $500, you couldn't go out and buy any equipment or anything. Starting the business, depending on the state you're in, could cost you $500, period. So that leaves you with no money for launch. I would say I would do some market research, figure out what it is I love to do, and then go have all those conversations that we keep talking about. Find out if it's a good idea. Before you invest the $500, I'd find out what niche you want to be in, how you're going to approach that niche market, how you can go into day one making money. Because if you only have $500 to invest, day one, you need to be making money.
So I would say, and this is the truth. I mean, this is really the truth. In people's entrepreneur journeys, most people are more interested in that idea, that freedom, that autonomy that comes from owning your own business. And they just want to own their own business. It doesn't mean you get to start by doing something you love. I've owned a lot of businesses that I didn't love in my life, but I owned them because it was a means to end. I have family to feed, kids to take care of, and stuff like that. And I knew I didn't want to work for somebody, and I knew I could monetize that business. So with $500, you're probably not going to get to do what you love necessarily. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but if your goal really is to be an entrepreneur, understand the reason why you want to be an entrepreneur. And if $500 is all that you have, you might buy a red Radio Flyer wagon, get a push mower, put some bleach white in it, wire brush, and some Joy soap, and a chamois, and you can go out and wash cars. That's starting a business, but it's always about putting one foot in front of the other and making strides forward.
You know, I will pivot back. The way you said that. If it's something you don't necessarily want to have to love, because like you said, I've ran businesses I didn't love.
Sure.
This week, Tess and I went out Friday night, and on the way home, I was sitting at a stoplight, and it was dark out, and the lights on Enterprise car lot were sitting there shining on those cars after we got all that wind on Wednesday, and I said, we should go buy a power washer and start washing cars tomorrow.
Right.
Because all of them were covered in dust. So there you go. Again, just go buy a power washer, put it in the back of your car, truck, whatever, and you go hit car lots up. You can make, most cities, you can make $1, $2 a car, and you can, all they want is sprayed off and chamoised. It's hard work. I've done it. I've had a company did that, and I'd go out and do it. I started that company as a side hustle and ended up with 4 or 5 employees doing that every single day.
Yep. I think understanding where you want to be in life and in business is probably the most important thing. Everybody loves the dream of being an entrepreneur, the idea of owning something yourself, having that autonomy, being your own boss, and having the freedom that it affords. A lot of the questions that we addressed here today on GrindWise that you sent us, it seems like it's real centric around that theme because people want more for their lives than being told what they're worth, having someone dictate the hours and the time that they are going to be there before they can recapture that life on their own. So they desire those things. And that's what we talk about, a lot of those things here on GrindWise. But at the end of the day, the things that we talked about today were the questions that you asked us, and we're happy to address them. And make sure as you're watching this, go down and hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. Tell us what you would like to see us talk about. We'll either bring them in, we'll revisit it. But also look down in the description. There's going to be some links to some resources that you can take advantage of from our free book that's going to help guide you in your entrepreneurial journey. And from there, catch us next time here on GrindWise. But with that, I'd say we're out. I think understanding where you want to be in life and in business is probably the most important thing. Everybody loves the dream of being an entrepreneur, the idea of owning something yourself, having that autonomy, being your own boss, and having the freedom that it affords.